Alrighty guys, this is Additive Inverse and Additive Identity on page 13 of your toolkit. Go ahead and read through it, underline what you think is important, and then come back to us. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is what I would have highlighted, right? So there is no how-to in this section, but you still need to be able to know the terms because we're going to be using them. Right, so it says the additive identity is the number 0, right? And we remember that our identity, right? Our identity is who you are, right? So it's just like looking in the mirror, right? If this is me right here, right? And I wanted to know who my identity is. When I look in the mirror, I should see myself and not some creepy thing looking back at me, right? So when I think about this and I think of identity, right? If I ask you for your student ID, right? That's your identity. That should be you. Okay. So when we're talking about additives, so we're adding to your identity, you want to be able to keep your identity. You want to be able to keep who you are, right? And that is why that additive identity is 0. Okay. Because no matter what you do, no matter what number you have, if you add 0 to it, it still keeps that identity. I'm going to repeat that as no matter what you add 0 to, no matter what number you have, if you add 0, it still keeps that same identity, right? So example, 3 plus 0 is 3. 5 plus 0 is 5. 10 plus 0 is 10. A billion plus 0 is a billion still, right? And so in general, it says right here, X, and we'd say any number. So we use X to represent any number sometimes, right? Is going to equal that same number, right? Same number, okay? So when you think about it, if you pick any number, and I challenge you to even try and prove me wrong, right? Prove this toolkit wrong. Find a number when you add 0, it does not all equal that same number again, right? So we're going to write a couple notes on the side. Our additive identity is 0, right? So again, no matter what number you have, when you add 0, it still equals that number, okay? We also have our multiplicative identity. Right? So if I were to take that same concept, and I can't remember if we had a toolkit on this already, but if we take that same concept, and if you take any number and you multiply it by this key number, it should keep it the same, right? So if I think, oh, maybe 0, if I take 3 times 0, it now equals 0, right? So it doesn't still equal 3. So when I think about it, 3 times what will keep that identity? And this is our giant 1. That we're talking about, that we've been using for fractions, right? So when you multiply any number by 1, it still keeps that same identity. It still keeps that number, right? So 3 times 1 is 3. 5 times 1 is still 5. 10 times 1 is still 10. A billion times 1 is still a billion, right? And that's where we keep our identity, okay? Second part, the additive inverse of a number if it is its opposite. So when I think inverse, I'm thinking opposite. Okay, so the example that they have, the opposite, the additive inverse, what you add is of 7 is -7. The additive inverse of -2 is 2, right? So the additive undoes the addition. All right. And this is why these two are connected, because additive identity, you're adding 0 to keep that number. Additive inverse, the opposite, you're adding the opposite to get 0 in the end, right? So 3 plus -3 gets you 0. 5 plus -5 gets you 0. 10 plus -10 gets you 0. A billion times -1 billion gets you 0, right? So we're going to keep additive inverse, right? If you have a negative, right, it's now the positive. Right? And it goes both ways. I'm going to write the arrow going back and forth, right? So example 3 is the additive inverse of -3, and it goes back and forth, right? 5 and -5, those are additive inverses because when you add them together, you get 0, right? And any number plus that opposite, that negative, is going to be 0, right? Same thing if I had -x, if I started with the negative number, I would add the positive number to get 0. Okay. That is it for your toolkit. Please make sure that you stay for the end of the video, click on show results, take a picture, upload it wherever your teacher needs to, and all that good stuff. And that's it. Thank you.